Making this video was kind of like therapy for me, and if it helps one person in any way, that warms my heart, because it's such a difficult thing to go through. A lot of different scenarios that people are going through that could be watching this video, and I just want to tell you that I am sorry from the bottom of my heart, and I feel for you, and it's a very tough thing to go through.
Did you look at it?
No.
Look at it, the time's up.
2 lines. Is
That's
it?
definitely, that's 2 lines.
Oh. Head. Is it real?
Like, dark line progression.
Dark line. No more bleeding.
Yeah, and no more bleeding. Like, and then I feel like I'll start to get excited.
So this is probably one of the tougher videos that I've ever recorded, because up until this point, everything was just pregnancy and weekly updates. But if you've been watching my videos, you know that I did have one successful pregnancy, and my son was born in August of 2018. So we actually just celebrated his first birthday. I'm here to tell you today about my recent miscarriage. So right off the bat, I am doing this video because when I was going through what I was going through, all I did was research on the internet. I am a go to YouTube kind of person, and I want to watch other people's videos. I want to see their emotion. I want to know how they were feeling or how they dealt with it. So a lot of people that are watching this video, you might be here because you think you are going to miscarry. You know somebody who miscarried or is miscarrying. You're scared that you're going to miscarry. And I hope that this video helps you in any small way to cope, to comfort you, to prepare you. Many things can happen in many different scenarios, so this is just mine. This is my story, and I wanted to share it because what I experienced was a subchorionic hematoma, which was around the baby. So I'll get into that, but I'm just gonna kind of start off with how we found out about our pregnancy and how the pregnancy went and when we found out and how we miscarried. Then I'll talk about how I felt afterwards. It's been about 3.5 weeks now, and I think that I finally feel comfortable to do somewhat of a video to talk about this, because if I were to have done this before, I don't know where I would have been emotionally. Like, it was kind of uncontrollable. I would just cry all the time thinking about it. I'll probably cry at some point talking about it and like digging back all those memories, but I think that it's comforting to have women sharing their experiences with each other, because it's not talked about enough and it's just kind of swept under the rug, and then you feel like you're not supposed to feel the way that you're feeling. But to know that it's okay, and everybody's that has gone through what you're going through, if you are going through this or you think you're going to go through this, your emotions and your feelings are normal. And that it does feel better to talk to somebody about it. Like, don't keep it bottled up inside. Don't let yourself go through this alone, whether you have a partner or you're a single female and you're dealing with it, whether your pregnancy was wanted or unwanted. Like, I don't know the different feelings, but like, this pregnancy was very wanted. I wanted my kids close in age. So my husband and I would always joke, and we would say, I think we're pregnant. And it was kind of like the joke, because there was clearly a line and it never faded. So finally we took that pregnancy test that said pregnant. Blinking.
Okay. Looks like we're having a baby. It says it.
I made my first appointment, which I think was around 6-ish weeks, and it was my blood draw, which read my HCG levels and my progesterone levels, and everything was normal. It was good to go, right spot on for where I should be. And at that point it looked like even more positive that, okay, I guess we're pregnant. Let's get excited. We started to get a little excited and just antsy, and we were like, when are we going to tell our family? So my next appointment was actually scheduled for right before we were going on our week-long family vacation. We had the appointment on a Friday and vacation was supposed to start on a Saturday. And that was going to be our first ultrasound. So we figured we would go, we would get great news, and we would tell everybody on vacation that we were pregnant. And this was about like 8-ish weeks. So we go to the appointment, and before that appointment, I had another little bout of bleeding, but it was brown blood. And it was intermittent bleeding, like throughout the entire time up until that ultrasound appointment, which would have brought us to 8 weeks and 2 days. We got to the ultrasound appointment, we go in, and I'll insert a video here. So we got there, and as soon as they did the transvaginal ultrasound, he asked me, have you had any bleeding? And I said, yeah, actually. And he didn't really tell me anything, but I looked at the ultrasound and I right away said to myself, does not look like how my first ultrasound looked with my son. So the ultrasound tech said that he had seen a bleed, and I was upset. I don't think my husband and I actually cried during the appointment because we were just, it was the unknown. Like, we didn't know what was going to happen. So they did print out a couple photos, and that was weird because it was just not a good view of it. Like, you didn't see a good image. Nothing was really reassuring about the appointment. So the doctor sat us down and he explained to us that the baby was measuring almost 2 weeks smaller than it should. I told him that my son was actually measured as a week behind, and then they changed my due date to a week difference. So I don't know how worried I should have been about that, but it did weigh on me. So that was like one thing against us. But then he did reassure us that it could just have been the irregularity of ovulation. Then another reassuring thing was that we saw the baby's heart flicker. So there was a heartbeat of 136, which is really good and normal. Then he proceeded to tell us that there was a bleed behind the placenta. He told us that in most cases it does either work its way out, so it'll come out as bleeding, it'll turn brown, it will possibly resolve on its own and just reabsorb into your body. He said that subchorionic hematomas are not rare, they happen all the time, and you know, people have healthy pregnancies. So he said people have these bleeds and progress through a normal pregnancy, and we'll just have to see. I asked him, what is the chance of this pregnancy going full term? And he kind of just said, well, let's say 50-50. And I just feel like maybe it would have been said a little different if there was more hope, but that's just me reading into it. Like, I think that my gut already told me that this wasn't good. He said it could be caused from implantation bleeding that just accumulated around the baby. Then he also made us fully aware that it could be an indicator for a miscarriage. He said that, you know, you can't really tell, and we'll just have to repeat a viability ultrasound in 10 days. I said to him, what would be the signs of miscarriage? Like, I had mostly brown bleeding and just like maybe spots of red. So he said it would be pretty obvious. You would get cramping. The blood would be bright red. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it. So I started to cry at that point because I was just processing that it was a possibility to lose the baby that I just saw with a beating heart. And again, he just reassured, you know, if it's a healthy pregnancy, it's going to progress. And if it does end up being a miscarriage, then there's reasons why that happened. The main thing that the doctor said was that if it does progress to a miscarriage, more than 50% of the reason is usually a chromosomal abnormality. And I don't know, that it just wasn't comforting. As soon as you feel that you might miscarry, it's like you start blaming yourself and worrying about, what did I do? What can I do? What did I do that I could have not done? Like, this is my fault somehow. It's like you want to blame yourself. So he just kept reassuring us that if it's a healthy pregnancy, it will be, and it will progress, and everything will be fine. And if it's not, then your body will do what it has to do. So one thing I found on my own watching another video was a list of things that could cause miscarriage, which is chromosomal abnormalities, hormonal problems, infections, autoimmune disorders, lifestyle choices, such as like drinking alcohol, smoking. There were a few other things that were named. Improper implantation of the fetus, and then maternal age. So we left the doctor's office and we sat in the car, and at that point we were like, do we document this? Like, is this worth sharing? Because we tried to document like us taking the pregnancy tests and everything, like as if it were going to be a positive, full-term pregnancy. So my husband and I just sat in the car and we processed it, and we cried. I cried because I felt that it was leaning more towards the dark side of the outcomes. What do we do?
Not think about it?
And just not tell anybody, right?
I don't know.
I mean, it's not exciting.
If we tell people, then they're gonna be excited, but
I'm more nervous than excited. So it's like, what's the point? But then there's a heartbeat, so it's like, but obviously you don't want anything to, stay that's not going to be viable.
I think we tell people.
But nobody wants to talk about sad things, and I don't want to get all excited and talk about planning for another baby if it's not gonna be,
If that's what you want, we just have fun on vacation, and I'll make you fake drinks the whole time, and we'll mask it and we'll hide it the whole time. Nobody has to know.
I think that's what I want to do.
Okay.
Like, it's not exciting right now.
I know.
And I think I'm upset because it's not, like what we expected to come out feeling. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I know all you want to do is talk to your mom about it.
It's okay.
You could tell her.
No.
So we said no heavy lifting, but it's like, I guess just resume normal activity,
Yeah, no heavy lifting.
no intercourse or whatever. Like,
Because
I want to
we were-
have hope, but also it's like, I don't want to have too much hope to keep something that's not supposed to stay. Like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Right now you have a heartbeat.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. I want to be happy, but I can't.
I'm going to put this warning in now. If you don't want to hear graphics of the whole situation, skip ahead. So we didn't tell anybody. A few days into vacation, so we got there on Saturday, and then on a Wednesday, I started to feel crampy. And then I went to the bathroom, and there was red blood, and it didn't stop from there. For me, it wasn't the most severe cramps that I've ever experienced, because I don't get cramps when I have my period. I'm very lucky. And my periods are never heavy either. So it just continued. I told my husband I was worried. We have our 1-year-old. We are also there with basically 3 families and their kids. It's all our family, our immediate family, but it's everyone's there, and then I'm having this issue that I'm going through, and I'm like, you're not going to talk about it. Like, I don't know what was going on. In my head, I was trying to convince myself, okay, well, I'm like a positive thinker, so I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is that, that large bleed that's just coming out, and everything's going to be fine, and the baby's going to be fine. Like, this is that blood that we saw on the ultrasound coming out, and everything's going to be fine. And I kept telling myself that, and then it just kept getting worse, and it kept, getting heavier, and I said to my husband, I said, I don't think that this is good. And that's when we sat on the porch. I called the OB office. I talked to the nurse on the phone. She kind of walked me through it. I told her what I was feeling, and she said, okay, we're going to get you in for an ultrasound. They didn't have anything that day, so we were going to have to, and we were an hour away on vacation from our house, so we were going to have to go the next morning. So we had to tell everybody at that point, and then it was the discussion of, okay, well, now how are we on vacation and we're just gonna let the ball drop that, hey guys, we're pregnant, but before you get too excited, we think we're miscarrying. Like, it was just a, how do you say it? And I'm like, and he's like, you just have to, we have to tell him. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. So I think my husband went out and told his family because I was scared. I don't know of what, like, and I was like regretting the fact that we didn't tell them and that it had to like all come out at once. I don't know why I always just like think of other people's feelings, but that was hard. And my husband told everybody, and it was of course a shock, but I just, you know, we dealt with it, and I tried to like, you know, hide it as much as I could. The cramps were mild and I was bleeding, and I was just constantly going back and forth to the bathroom to check what was going on. And then at some point on that Wednesday, after we made the appointment for the ultrasound, there was a larger amount of tissue that passed, and I knew that it was the baby. And my husband came in and he tried to like walk into the bathroom to see if I was okay, and I like locked him out because I didn't want to tell him. Like, I didn't want it to be real. And I said, I'm like 98% sure that it just came out. And you just know when you know. So we went on with the day. We followed up with the ultrasound the next day, drove the hour home. It was at a different facility. It wasn't at my OB office, and it was, I guess, more serious, like, because it wasn't a hospital, but it was like a radiology affiliate place or something like that. And my husband and I walked in and we were calm, and then they wouldn't let him come into the room with me. They made him sit in like a separate room. But I think that on the drive there we talked about everything, and we were just kind of like trying to accept the fact that it probably happened, and there was like a 1% chance that this was gonna be, the baby's still there, everything's fine. Because I've watched videos that people have passed things and maybe it is just a blood clot and, you know, things are okay. So after watching videos like that, I had hope. It was a transvaginal ultrasound. I was in there alone, and once she put the probe in, she said to me, well, you can obviously see what's going on here. And I said, yeah, I don't see anything. So I was bleeding still at that point, and then she had me get dressed. That's when she brought my husband in. The way that this place worked was that obviously the tech couldn't give me the final answer of what happened. But I'm a nurse, I know. She knows that I was a nurse. I can see. It's obvious. She traded her miscarriage story with me. And honestly, it made me feel a lot better. Not like a happy feeling, but just a comforting feeling, like, hey, you're not alone, you know? She just kind of walked me through hers, and I was like, thank you for sharing your story with me, because it was very comforting. We had to wait for the doctor to call back and just reiterate the news to me that I miscarried. So it was over the phone. I talked with the doctor. He said, you know, you did miscarry. I don't even know what he said. And that was it. And then we left. We just left. And I'm like, so that's it? Like, it's just over? And it was just weird. And at that point, I hadn't even told my mom or my dad, and we're on family vacation with his family. And I was kind of holding that in me too. Like, I just went through all of this, and my mom doesn't even know. And I don't know why I didn't tell her. Like, why did I keep it from her, you know? In a way, I didn't want to tell, like, I didn't know to tell anybody, because I didn't want people to get excited and start planning for baby number 2 with this possibility of it not being a thing that happens. And my husband and I just say, like, everything happens for a reason. We try and stay positive. We were like, let's go pick up something from our house, which was on the way back to where we were on vacation. And we drive by our house, and my mom is there in the driveway, because we said, we'll just tell them when we come home. Like, we've been through enough emotionally already. And I told my husband, just keep going, drive past the house. And then I said, you know what? I have to be a big girl, and I'm gonna face my fear, and I'm gonna explain to her everything that happened. So we pull in the driveway, and my mom was about to leave. She was just checking on her house, like getting her mail and stuff. And I told her, And it was comforting because, you know, you don't have to say much. Like, in the littlest amount of words, I was able to tell my mom what happened. And she went through it. My mom had a miscarriage after me, and I'm her second child. So she was able to comfort me with words, along with everybody in our family. Everybody was so supportive. And it's like, we went back to vacation. We tried to finish the vacation and sweep it under the rug. Like, obviously I'm processing things and I'm still in denial. Like, I just don't believe that it happened. You know, I miscarried on a Wednesday, went to the doctors for the confirmation on the Thursday. I have B negative blood type, so you have to get the RhoGAM shot within 72 hours of the miscarriage. Thank God the nurse told me that. So on that Friday, I had to drive back home an hour to go to the hospital. They had to draw my blood, type and cross it. I had to wait 2 hours, and then they gave me the RhoGAM injection in my shoulder. And then I was able to rejoin vacation until Saturday when we left. So it was like a bing, bang, boom, like everything was just going, like dealing with the miscarriage. Then we had Sunday to be home, Monday, and it's like, I felt like that was definitely not enough time. You have to take time for yourself. For some of you, this might be your first pregnancy, so you don't have this to distract you, but it's like, I have my son as like a major distraction. And I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, because he did distract me so much that I don't think I was able to process it. It was probably the hardest time of my life emotionally. So my son was sick. Then we got home from vacation. I had an extra day off of work, which would have been that Monday. But I just said to my husband, like, I got home and we were just processing it, and I just felt not ready. Like, but how do I call out of work? I'm not sick. Like, I feel fine, like, physically, but emotionally, I'm a mess. And I know that you're supposed to have, like, mental health days too, but, like, and I just want you to know that it is a good reason to call out. If you miscarry and you are having a hard time processing it, even if you're not, like, you deserve that time to grieve and don't feel any other way. I never call out of work for anything, and I think that it was a blessing in disguise that I got pink eye, and it was probably from touching my face and touching my eyes and crying a lot. But it was like my little blessing. Like, I called out of work saying that I think I have pink eye, and then went to the doctor, got a doctor's note for the next day because I had to use the drops and it's contagious for 24 hours. So I was like able to have that time. I really don't know where this video is going because I've stopped it multiple times to try and sum everything up. I was at about 2 weeks after the miscarriage, and I was just not happy. Like, I was just crying, and the emotions were coming back all the time, more frequently than they should. Like, the crying got better, but I was still thinking about it so much. I needed somebody to tell me that I was okay. So I made a doctor's appointment with my OB, and about 3 weeks after the miscarriage, I followed up with my gynecologist and just asked her things like, I just want you to tell me I'm okay. From things that I researched, it was like, if you had an infection. So I'm like, well, did I have an infection that I didn't treat, and is it my fault? The blame game just continues, and I couldn't forgive myself. For what? I didn't even do anything, but it's like I kept wanting to blame myself that I did something. For me, it's like I did heavy yard work outside one day, and I was lifting really heavy branches that fell, and I was burning sticks in the fire, and my husband yelled at me for being around smoke. I'm like, did I do it then? That night or the next night, I was a little crampy, and I'm like, did I do it then? Was that why? So I have a friend that was also going through something similar with bleeding in the beginning of her pregnancy, and her pregnancy is healthy. So it's like, you can't help but think, why is everything okay for her and it's not for me? And then the thought of seeing people pregnant, and you're not gonna forget about the baby that was going to be. Like, the baby had a due date, and I'm probably not gonna forget about that. I have my app that just sends me notifications like, you are blah 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 weeks, and at this point it says you are 12 weeks. So it's like, wow, we would have been announcing now. And it's like, part of me doesn't want to take that app away. Like, I don't want to let it go. When we were on vacation, my husband and I painted rocks, and I don't know if he saw what I was painting, but I painted a rainbow. Because it must have been the littlest drizzle that day. But on our way back down to vacation, after the ultrasound was confirmed that the baby was gone, there was a rainbow. maybe a week after, I decided to let my social media channel know on Instagram, and that was my way of, I can't stop crying. I need people to talk to about this. So I did put a post up, and I got so much amazing feedback on that post, so many comforting words, and then direct messages with women sharing their stories and things that really helped that some people said. One thing being that I actually screenshot, it was just saying, for your next pregnancy, don't not be excited. Don't withhold that excitement for your next baby. Don't let this make you so scared that you don't enjoy being pregnant again. And I thought that was great, because all I can worry about is, well, what's gonna happen the next time, and being scared for everything. And I don't wanna do that. So to sum up how I feel, how I felt was just numb, kind of. I just felt sad, empty, confused, because you are pregnant and you're living your life like you're pregnant. You changed your diet, you adjusted things in your life for pregnancy. Like you were expecting it to not end, and then it just ends, and it's weird. Like, okay, I can have a glass of wine now? Like, what do you mean? I don't have to really like follow all the pregnancy rules. I can eat sushi. Like, it's just weird. But I did wait to do this video so that I would be able to process things more and talk about it. One other thing that I did do that helped me accept that I did lose the baby was I continued to take pregnancy tests, and I watched my line fade. Like, I watched the line go away, and it was just another confirming sign, like, okay, everything is going away for real. Even though it was kind of for real when we had the ultrasound, it's like for real. With my miscarriage, it was a complete miscarriage. So there are several different types of miscarriage, and I don't know if you know this yet, but it could be a complete miscarriage. It could be an incomplete miscarriage, which means all of the tissue does not come out on its own. There can be a missed miscarriage, which means that your body's not letting go of the baby. You'll have to research more of that on your own, but an incomplete or a missed miscarriage, there's a chance that you would end up having to take a pill to help your body expel the baby, or the tissue, however you want to refer to it, or end up with a invasive procedure called a DNC, where they dilate and take out the remains. So my husband and I go through everything, and it's like, if we look on the bright side, it's like it happened quick. I expelled all of the baby, and I didn't have to have an invasive procedure to get it out. Like, when they did my ultrasound, she said my uterine lining was already thinning, like drastically, which was a good sign, and there was nothing left, and it was quick. And I thank God that it was earlier in the pregnancy, like it was almost 9 weeks, but it could have been later, and the more that the baby would have been with me, inside of me, the more attached I would have been, and you might have been further along. And there's a lot of different scenarios that people are going through that could be watching this video, and I just want to tell you that I am sorry from the bottom of my heart, and I feel for you, and it's a very tough thing to go through. And I hope that you have somebody that you can talk to, and if you need to, go find help and somebody to talk to that's going to be comforting, a psychologist or something. Go to your gynecologist, talk to your doctor. Those people can be very reassuring and comforting in such a dark time that you're experiencing. But my best advice is just talk about it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Don't act like you don't have the right to feel the way that you're feeling, that you don't deserve time to grieve because you lost something. As soon as you pee on that stick and get those positive lines, you're attached to that potential baby. You're already planning in your head. You're already making a life for this baby, this positive pregnancy test, this little heartbeat that's beating on the ultrasound. And I think that was one of the hardest things, is like, once I saw the heartbeat, I was able to just connect even deeper with the fact that this is a little soul inside of me. Like, this is a potential life, and that's what it is. Like, it was a little soul, and that little soul is in heaven now, and you just really have to have some sort of faith and some believe in something greater than us, and that it was meant to be and it happened for a reason. And I find that that helped me a lot, was to just kind of like give that grief and give that sadness and everything to a greater being. I don't even know how to say that. So to end this, my reassurance was making a doctor's appointment with my gynecologist. One of the other things I asked and touched upon, obviously, is, when can we try for another baby? Another part of me feels that I'm not going to let this go and let this sadness go until I have another pregnancy and I'm distracted with that. And that's not a good way to feel either, but I just really wanted this past pregnancy, and I just want another baby, and it's not going to replace anything. It's just, so her answer was, which things that I've read, I thought that you just had to have one menstrual cycle and then you can try again, but she actually was suggesting that I wait 2 menstrual cycles in order to try again. So right now it's September. We were thinking that we were going to be able to try again in October, but now the thought is possibly we should wait till November, which would, if we got pregnant then, the next baby would be born probably a month before our son. So if all works out, they could be almost 2 years apart, and that would be fine. I mean, I will feel blessed to have another healthy pregnancy. It makes me appreciate my healthy pregnancy that I had. And so I really have no way to end this video, but making this video was kind of like therapy for me. And if it helps one person in any way, that warms my heart, because it's such a difficult thing to go through alone. And just, search for that information that's going to make you feel whole again or help comfort you through this. If you have come across any information that really helped you cope with going through a miscarriage, definitely leave it in the comments section below. This video can be a place where, people can share their stories, what happened to you and how you're feeling. And this could be, a spot for women to talk to each other. So check out the comments, see if anybody has commented that could be more relatable than maybe my story was. And best of luck to everybody. Just remind yourself that it does get better, it will get better, and it might feel like the end of the world right now, but there's so much ahead and so much planned for you. Don't give up, and just keep trying and stay positive. And so much love to you. One thing that my husband did get for me as a reminder, and I feel like it was exactly what I needed, was this little charm on my necklace. I don't know if that's going to show up, but it's a little rainbow stamped on a charm. This necklace is for my firstborn, which is a C for Cole, and then his zodiac stars. That was my delivery gift. So we added the little rainbow right in between, and it's just something that I have with me that's a reminder that I always have that baby with me.